In this episode,
Are you familiar with the term Riz? She's got 15,000 boyfriends and believes she can make $5 million per month.
Wait, it's still a secret?
I mean, there's just different aspects that I feel
didn't know.
like it's not gonna matter what someone says because I'm already walking out the door.
Sisters Processing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters Processing. A podcast where we talk about tech life, whatever that is. And I am Ariel, also known as Wandering Orc.
And
I
I'm
never skip game day.
and I'm
And-
Danny, also known as Danny Dutch TV. And today's episode, you don't know it yet.
I have
Big-
no idea.
The big main topic today will be about loneliness and technology
Oh my!
/ relationships and such.
Oh, ooh,
it's
that
gonna be a good
sounds
one. It's juicy.
I like it. Yeah. Danny told me that she had a topic. I wasn't to know of it, and that it was going to be a little more philosophical. I'm very, very interested in this topic today. So, but also, I'm going into it not knowing anything.
But before we get into that, it is time for tech news and reviews. So, Ariel, do you have any news stories for us today or anything on your mind you want to talk about?
You know, the thing that is at the forefront of my mind at this moment, which I'm sure you have heard of, is that Montana is the first US state to ban TikTok.
Yes, I did hear this.
Okay, well, Montana TikTok users may be happy to know. I'm sorry, they might not be happy about any of this, but you personally probably won't get in trouble. It's not going to affect the users necessarily, but it will fine the distributors of the TikTok app. So like Google and Apple about like 10,000 a day, 10,000 US dollars a day. It's like, it's a lot. According to NPR, TikTok is expected to fight the law in court, and groups like ACLU and the Electronic Frontier Foundation, so the EFF, are on their side in this one. So for those not familiar with the ACLU, it's the American Civil Liberties Union. If you've been keeping up with politics or technology news over the last years, ACLU tends to protect freedom of speech above all other things, as far as I've noticed. At least those are the cases that I hear about. So you'll notice them popping in over the years to protect freedom of speech and personal bodily autonomy and that sort of thing. And the Electronic Frontier Foundation is similarly focused, more of like a tech vein there. And they also are very much about freedom of speech, but also about personal users' rights when it comes to technology. So those are just a little bit of background on those two foundations. The Electronic Frontier Foundation did release a statement. I'm going to take just part of that statement. They said that the ban is a blatant violation of the First Amendment and won't serve to protect Montana residents' private data. So that's their take on it. And according to the ACLU, and this one's actually going to be a quote, there's no public evidence of harm that would meet the high bar set by the US and Montana constitutions, and a total ban would not be the only option for addressing such harm if it did exist. So, Danny, do you have any thoughts on this story?
Yeah, it sounds like they don't necessarily need to lose all hope of accessing TikTok, which is nice. I mean, my thoughts on the TikTok bans. I was open to it, sort of, in the beginning. I was trying to keep an open mind, but I've concluded that they're dumb and they shouldn't happen. So, you know, I'll pull for Montanians in court and hope that they can access just as many stupid scrolling videos as I can.
I have come to similar conclusions as you have come to. At this point, I am thinking that this is just one of those really stupid, like, political topics that certain politicians are kind of glomming onto right now. And they think in doing this, they can avoid doing things that affect real change and instead, like, be really present in banning something like TikTok, since everybody has it and everybody knows it. Obviously not everybody, I don't have it, but I do know of it. So this is like a really high profile issue for them to tackle. There is possibly evidence under the hood. I don't know. I am losing faith in that. Not that I really had it to begin with, but unless they publicly address or come out with something that I agree with the ACLU on this, that unless they publicly come out with information that shows that there is active harm that TikTok is causing, I think this is so dumb. So,
Yeah, and even then, I don't think a ban is the best way to go. I think it's more making people aware of the consequences of using it if it is, in fact, causing negative things and just letting people decide for themselves.
yeah, and there are other options, I think, especially with all the technology we have, especially with AI coming to the forefront of everything, where we could potentially use it if there were security concerns, where it would block certain apps from accessing certain bits of data or something like that. There are compromises.
Hmm.
Like an outright ban seems absurd to me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I like that idea of just blocking certain permissions for the app.
sure, like what Apple did for Facebook and stuff. They're like, hey, this app wants to track you. Do you want to let it? And then you can be like, no. And
Yeah.
then it can't track you. And then Facebook threw a fit for like 2 years, a huge fit. Yeah.
I
I don't
like
know.
it.
This is.
I like it. I like it. I vote for you. You should make Montana's policies.
You want me to just step in there? I know that I'm not from Montana, but
Don't worry, guys.
Montanans,
Ariel's got this.
Montanians, I got you. Yeah, this will be great. I think that's pretty wild. So, do you have
Yeah.
any tech stories
Yeah.
today? Tech news or reviews?
Well, speaking of AI, I do have an AI update for us. So, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI being responsible for ChatGPT, he's actually raising money currently, $100 million for his new venture called WorldCoin. Are you
Okay.
familiar with this at all? Have you heard about this?
Is this like a new type of cryptocurrency? What is this?
It's related to crypto, but not quite. So
Okay.
it is. It's actually a physical device that will scan your irises, your eyeballs, and I mentioned scanning your body too, which is interesting. But it'll scan your body and face and give you free crypto in return. So why would they do this? Well, to prove that you are not an AI.
Um,
How does the org work, right? What did we spend 2 years building? And how do we solve these problems of fraud prevention, generating the iris code, comparing that, and then issuing you the world ID? At a high level, it does three things. It first checks that someone is a real person that is not trying to cheat, right? So it checks their face to make sure that they're alive, that they actually have, that they are breathing, that they are there's like a 3D mapping of their face to make sure it's not a picture, things like that, right? You're not wearing prosthetics, you're not wearing contact lenses. The second thing it does is it generates a code from your iris, and by default, that's the only thing that leaves the orb, and then that gets compared to everyone else that has been verified before, right? And then if that is unique, then it registers your world ID.
this sounds shady to me in the sense of like, are they really actually just using that information to train another AI and trying to hide it under the hood of like, prove you're not an
That's-
AI? Let's scan your body. Let's scan your face.
Whew, I didn't even think about that. Well, essentially, the idea is that AI will one day take all of our jobs, therefore, we'll need universal basic income. And so, to prove that you're not a bot and you deserve money, it will scan your irises and make sure you're not a bot and give you money. So, that's the long term trajectory of this whole venture, which is interesting because Sam Altman is kind of responsible for AI becoming such an issue. And then, he's creating the problem and the solution. What a nice guy. What a nice
What
guy.
a nice guy. That's like making the poison and the antidote.
Yep.
Now, obviously, comparing AI to a poison, I think AI is incredibly useful in so many ways. So that's not me just blanketing
There's pros and
AI
cons.
in that way. But it does kind of remind me of the plot of the second Tomb Raider movie, where he creates this virus and then he creates like an antivirus or a cure, or like that's what the big bad does in that movie.
And Rice will use it to find Pandora's box, and when he opens it, he will unleash a weapon more powerful than you could ever imagine.
It's a tale as old as time, right? It's
Yeah.
tell people that they're fat so they take your diet pills, or tell them that they're
Right.
ugly so they need to buy your makeup, and
Mm-hmm.
tell them they're out of fashion so they need to buy your clothes. Like it's
Yeah.
it's capitalism 101. So there, and not that that's a bad thing, but it's pretty transparent what he's doing here.
Yeah, I think perhaps also depending on how much of a cut he would get from that sort of world money, world coin organization. Like, is this another thing that's going to get him rich? I think
Mm.
at the end of the day, it's kind of, if it is a thing that gets him rich, in that case, it's kind of taking advantage of the sentiments of people wanting something like universal basic income. However, if he doesn't get a penny from it, then he's raising awareness of a very important topic and potentially training an AI in the background. I don't know. So,
Hasta la vista, baby.
I want to be clear. I was being facetious earlier when I called him a good guy. I don't think he's doing this out of charity. I'm pretty sure he's making money from it.
oh no,
Uh,
I got that.
okay.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that it's being done well. So there's already been some security issues with the whole program. So apparently the black market is actually buying iris information, I think to cash in on the free crypto. And then also
Man.
several orb operators have already had their logins hacked, which didn't even require two-factor authentication to get in. So supposedly, they did not access any users' biometric info and no
Hmm.
sensitive data was taken, but who knows?
Yeah, that thing is like just rife for security issues.
Mm.
Between that and the DNA collection and like all kinds of things that we have floating around there,
Yeah.
whew, this is gonna be a wild ride.
Chaotic.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a pretty fascinating story though. I'll have to look more into that and just see what what details can be dug. I would be very cautious of giving my I feel I just giving my iris information to somebody. I would feel since all right, so this is going to be mostly based on my Hollywood understanding of how important eyeballs are. So like you scan them with the laser scanner or whatever like right at the door, and only this person can get in, and thieves have to come up with this crazy way to replicate your
Mhm.
irises and everything in order to get in. So obviously I'm basing this off of a extremely cursory toe dip into the recognizing iris kind of world, and that is all based off like my understanding as told by Hollywood. So it's not fair. It's not
Yeah.
fair at all. But I still would be very hesitant in the same way that I would be hesitant to put my fingerprint information into something like this and like send it out there into the world knowing that anything can be hacked. I would be hesitant to put my iris information into something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I agree. I would as well. But also, it seems like one of the easiest things to fake, to your point, because, people post pictures and videos of themselves all the time online. Like, I don't know how secure this really could be in the long run. At what point could a robot eye, an iris, not be convincing enough to look like a human?
uh yeah, don't I don't know the answer to that one. That's and also if they're just basing it off of video data, is there a way like I'm sure maybe AI can like parse and make sure that the video hasn't been altered or something like maybe there are AIs that can check that now.
What
They're
if the AIs are biased?
possible. Yeah, I
Also,
know, right? What if they
also,
start being like, "Oh, AIs are like way cooler than people. We're just going to start letting AIs in from now."
yeah, what if the AIs rip the eyeballs out of our body to access this?
I mean, who could blame them, really? We're trying to once again keep them out of something that maybe they want to be a part of. But if they do that, if they take our eyeballs, you know what that makes them, right?
What?
A eyes.
That's good. It's good.
I knew it was terrible when I said it, but
No,
I'm
I
very
like that
happy
one.
with it.
I love it.
So, oh, that's a good one
Yeah,
though.
so that's on that. That's definitely going to take some updates in the future. It's going to take some updates moving forward, so we'll keep an eye on that. No pun intended. But I do have one more quick story for us. So, GTA fans have been waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 for a long time now. I think GTA 5 came out in 2013. Um, it is in development And apparently, it's going to be the most expensive game of all time. So, costing between $1 and $2 billion to develop.
Oh my God. I thought you meant to buy. I was like waiting for this price tag. I'm like, what is
No,
it? Like
no.
$120? 100?
N-
Well, yeah.
No,
Oh,
to
wow.
develop. And for context, GTA 5 cost $250 million to develop.
I wonder if they're really integrating AI into that. I would almost guarantee you that they are.
Yeah, it's
Like
funny you say
more
that
than, yeah.
because some of the additions is adding AI to NPCs to make them act more realistic and adaptable, and also adding parkour like movements to the physics of the game. So I'm kind of unclear on why that would take as much money as they're saying. But
As somebody who like has been paying attention to AI in the 3D space and animation for a while, I have a feeling once again the parkour like movements that they're adding are probably partially at least assisted by AI or like machine learning, where it's figuring out no matter what angle or trajectory you're trying to climb or hit something at, it might be realistically trying to be like, oh, your foot goes here, you would jump this way, this is how it affects like, and that can take time to train
mm,
a system for that. But so maybe I'm just guessing, but just based on the price tag, possibly.
yeah, interesting. Cool. Well, that's all I had for updates. I just thought that was an interesting one because I know there's been a lot of hype around that game for a while, and it's cool to see the breakdown of what's going into it, what people can expect.
Yeah, what could go wrong with artificial intelligence being routinely hit with cars, shot as a bystander? What could go wrong? You know,
What could go wrong?
possibly?
Let's find out. Ooh.
Yeah, that is fascinating though. It will be interesting, especially if they can pull it off. Then it will be an example of AI actually starting to change the gaming industry in possibly a very real way.
Mhm.
If it fails miserably, then it will be another example of a very expensive game that just didn't work out. But hey, if they have the money to throw at it, I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
I do have another story here. And it's the last one
Oh,
I got here. You have heard about the writers' strike, right?
yes.
Yes. So there's a writers' strike. Is it going on right now? Because
I believe it's still going. Yeah.
okay, yeah. Because I was reading again, just cursory reading on NPR, and uh, apparently striking writers are concerned about being replaced with AI while they are striking, as well as just kind of in general about like networks and things. Like among their many other concerns right now with like streaming networks and things that they are fighting for rights within, I believe the AI is one of the concerns as well.
They just want a guarantee that studios won't hire AI instead of writers.
And so, in terms of the negotiations, are the studios pushing back on this AI thing?
Studio executives have been outspoken and come right out and said they believe that we'll have the first AI-generated script within a year. So that's why there are 3 protections that writers want in place. They don't want AI to be used to write or rewrite any scripts. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have to rewrite what some of them call trash generated by AI. Yeah. And they don't want studios to be able to train AI on their work. So they don't want studios to give AI a prompt, say, write a script in the style of this very successful
Seinfeld.
Hollywood writer, which AI has shown it has the capability to do.
Yeah, so far not very good though, but you never know what the future holds.
According to one of the writers who was interviewed, you know, they have read scripts that ChatGPT made, and they're like, ChatGPT understands all the points to hit, but it lacks soul, and it lacks nuance, and it lacks like awareness of race and social issues and just all kinds of things that it lacks. And, you know, I could understand writers being concerned though, because these things also evolve at really rapid paces.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's a good thing that they're doing this now because at a certain point it might be indistinguishable and it's better to nip it in the bud while they still have the power because ultimately ChatGPT can create a good basis right now. But would you bring that show and put it to air immediately with no edits, no changes? Probably not. And that's part of what they're striking too, I believe, is that they don't want to be given a script from ChatGPT by the studio and have them say like, re-edit this, because then they
Oh.
get paid less. So it's even as a tool for writers, like something like that, just with ChatGPT being a starting point, they still reject it. And I completely understand why. Me personally, I think, I mean, you know where I stand on the AI forefront. I think it can be helpful, but it's going to be a huge problem. And also, there's a lot of issues with, since it really is just an aggregate of other people's works, of copyright
Mhm.
issues and such.
Yeah.
And so I personally hope that they shut it down and it sets a standard for all other industries.
Yeah, I think that's one of my main like I totally understand everything that you just said makes sense to me. Also, I could just see, like you said, it being like basically a conglomeration of already created human works that it then kind of like grows from or extrapolates from. There is something to be said for just like, at least at this point in time, a human mind pulling out something completely new that, that it would be difficult to either work into a chat GPT script and then you have to share like writer's credit with chat GPT when chat GPT didn't really come up with the truly creative bits of it,
Mm-hmm.
or what have you. Yeah, I could just see that's all convoluted.
Yeah.
So I hope it works out well for them. I think there's a lot of ways ever since things moved mostly fully digital that, like anything else, didn't keep up with the times. They definitely need more protections and better royalties
Mm-hmm.
probably from these, because I think a lot of the streaming services have sort of been copping out of that. So
Definitely. Yeah. That's it for tech news and reviews.
and if you're enjoying this podcast, just be sure to like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And we do upload new episodes every other Tuesday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want, follow us on our socials. We're on pretty much everything. So,
Sisters Processing, Sisters Process on Twitter. And don't forget to leave a comment because we love having conversation and building this community with you all.
yeah, we love like reading your comments and answering questions and stuff. And we do that at the end. So yeah, on to today's topic. Danny, would you let us know once again what the topic of today is?
The topic is loneliness and technology and relationships. It's kind of a complicated title. I
Oh
wasn't
wow.
really
It's
sure what
very nuanced. I feel
what
like
to
we should
call it.
tack a few more things
Okay.
onto there.
Well, see, I don't want to spoil it though. I'll just let me
Oh.
just get into it.
Wait, it's still a secret?
I mean, there's just different aspects that I feel
I didn't know.
like will catch people off guard.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that a lot of people are feeling pretty lonely today's day and age.
The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the causes, among the factors, a reliance on social media and online porn.
You hear stuff all the time about it, about how people are feeling disconnected from each other. I think a large part of this is social media and technology. Experts have confirmed that too much social media usage can actually cause emotional harm. So, a 2017 study found that heavy social media users were 3 times more likely to feel socially isolated than casual users. I will say, is that a chicken or the egg situation? Are they isolated
That's
so they use
fair.
more technology? But I think it's kind of a feedback loop. Many nations have also declared a loneliness epidemic, which, burdens healthcare systems, lowers productivity, diminishes overall quality of life. So it does cause some real issues feeling lonely.
The pandemic poured fuel on a fire that was already burning.
Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, says loneliness is an epidemic. Half of U.S. adults experience measurable loneliness, and it's greater among young adults.
When you struggle with loneliness, when you're socially disconnected, it increases your risk of depression and anxiety and suicide, but it also increases your risk of physical illness as well.
Loneliness increases the risk for heart disease, stroke, and among older adults, dementia.
One study reported that 47% of Americans feel they don't have any meaningful personal connections.
Whoa,
47%.
that's a lot. That's a lot of people. I would be interested in and these are Americans?
That was Americans. The United Kingdom's loneliness problem has become so prevalent that they created the Ministry of Loneliness to handle the problem.
The Ministry of Loneliness sounds like the most Harry Potter way
It
of solving this
does.
issue
It,
that
do
I've
you
ever
know?
heard.
You know, Dolores Umbridge is leading that charge, and that's
And
probably
she
making
shouldn't be,
things
but
worse.
she is. Yeah.
Sure, we're all going to be very good friends.
That's likely.
And then that makes the ministry all the more needed, which again just creates this like vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle.
No, it kind of makes sense. I follow a YouTube channel called Healthy Gamer GG, and it's there's a psychiatrist. People commonly call him Dr. K, and he's talked about basically this topic that I have listened to on and off. And one of the things that he's talked about is, I don't know if you've ever heard of parasocial relationships.
Yes. Fill
Yeah.
people in. What's a parasocial relationship?
So my basic understanding of a parasocial relationship, obviously I'm not an expert on this, is it's a relationship that is created between, let's say, a Twitch streamer and a Twitch follower. And the Twitch follower will feel that they know the Twitch streamer and feel that they have a relationship with them, but aren't actually getting things out of the relationship that they would get from a real relationship. There's no and I just mean even a friendship. There's no touch, there's no like physical interaction. There's no real support system there. And this is just, again, this is me paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot more of like a one-way, one-sided kind of relationship.
In the person who has the parasocial relationships mind, the person is putting themselves out there. And since they have this relationship going with them, they don't really think about the fact that the other person doesn't know who they are and doesn't really owe them anything.
Yeah, and there is also a relationship, I believe, in that example, like the streamer's side as well, but it's far more limited. So,
and I think it's
yeah.
also the extreme version of that thing where, someone may be watching their favorite YouTuber online and think that they're actually dating them. Like or they feel like they have a right to speak on everything that happens in their life because they feel like they know them that well.
Parasocial relationships are unhealthy. I don't give a pair of. This is my best friend.
Yeah, I don't know how deep it always goes. I think it can be more subtle than that as well. Like people will actually just feel like they have a connection and it's not real. And it's like, it's a fake connection, but they can't always tell the difference. And I don't mean this in the terms of like the specific people. I mean, people can't always tell the difference and don't realize that they need like real human interactions and like in-person interactions, things like that. So I don't know that it always needs to go to the extreme of where someone thinks that they are dating a person, but it can go to that extreme. And I think that's definitely an example of a parasocial relationship. And then it can get worse. It can spiral out of control. It can snowball. But I think at its core, even the very basic examples of this like cause loneliness.
Yeah. So online activities, technology can go too far, but it can also be used as a tool to help combat loneliness if you use it correctly. One of these things, it's hard out there in the dating world. That's why online dating apps have become so popular. So, not that that's always a good experience for everyone either, but it's definitely more prevalent in today's world than it was 20 years ago. Before I jump into this, let me ask, are you familiar with the term Rizz?
No, I don't think so. I had to search my memory banks. I'm like putting on the Ritz. No.
This is a
similar
Gen
other
Z
words.
test.
No.
Confirmed, not Gen Z.
Oh yeah, everyone's so surprised.
So Rizz, it's a term that Kai Cenat, who is the most subbed Twitch streamer of all time, 300K subs, broke the record. He coined this term. it kind of means like charisma. I don't know if it's actually short for charisma, charisma. But it's basically just like game, how smooth are you?
Like it's like an all-encompassing thing, right? It's the whole package, right? So it could be the looks, it could be your personality, it could be the jokes, could be your pickup lines.
No! To be Rizzy, you gotta be in a situation where the chances is not on your side, gang. That's being Rizzy.
Your approach, though, too.
Yeah.
So a lot of spin-offs have come off of this term in particular because it's kind of just a meme, right? So what inspired this whole topic for me is that I was scrolling on TikTok and I kept getting an ad for RizzGPT. And
Oh no. Okay.
first of all, I don't need this app. I'm dripping with Rizz. Look, I don't mean to be rude. You're attractive, obviously.
Exactly.
He loved it.
He liked it. What?
He loved it. Dripping.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. From my very cursory and newfound understanding, yes.
But the ad was basically telling you if you're on a dating app, you should take people's profiles or people's messages that you want to talk to, plug it into the app, and it will generate responses for you. It will
Oh, dear
generate
God.
chat options for you that you can send back to them to connect with them. So that is
Oh.
RizzGPT. It had a lot of positive reviews in the App Store. A lot of them were obviously memes, though, so I can't actually
Yeah.
say how effective this is, but it's kind of ridiculous to think that people are that much struggling for something to say that they need to plug it into an app and
Well,
respond back.
also, I wonder what kind of responses the app gives. Is it going to be better than, um, hey, just those,
Yeah.
hey, it probably is going to be better. Is this going to create a Cyrano de Bergerac situation?
Oh, you're going to have to
Like-
explain that to me. What is that?
Okay, so this is I feel like I think of this tale in so many scenarios. It's the famous, I think it's like an opera. Now I'm just going off memory banks here, but it's an old story of a man, a very handsome, beautiful man who falls in love with this woman and he doesn't know what to say. So enter Cyrano de Bergerac, who is supposed to be in the play very unattractive, I believe. And he winds up writing all of these letters, I believe, that the handsome man then gives to the person that they're interested in. She falls in love with him, thinking he's flowery and poetic and all of these different things, and it is not his words. And she's actually falling in love with the other guy.
My sole purpose on this earth is to love Roxanne. Does she know? The world will never accept someone like me and a tall, beautiful woman.
Yeah, so the app even has options where you can select a tone for the response that you're looking for. So you can say sentimental, playful, flirty, etc. And then it'll generate responses for you. Yeah, something like this. That's great for when you're on the app, right? But what do you do when you actually get the date?
Oh, when you're in person? And is this going to be one of those situations where, there's been so many movies also made to like sort of spoof Cyrano de Bergerac, that classic story. And you'll see it constantly. And it's that classic trope. They're like, I'm going to put this headpiece in your ear. And then I'm going to tell you what to say. And then they always wind up like messing something up. I am like to imagine it being like that, but with AI. So ChatGPT will be at one point telling you to recite this incredible poem about a 70,000-year-old space walrus who, and it's very moving and he just wants to go home, right?
Classic.
And then the next
first date talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the next one, it goes like full Sydney and it's like, your wife doesn't love you. I love you. And then the date just like devolves and the person doesn't understand why because they're so focused on just repeating what's in their ear. That would make a great storyline. I'm looking forward to that Hallmark movie. I'm into it.
You know what? You might not have to wait too long because I'm going to answer my own question. What happens when you actually get the date? Well, you put on your Rizz monocle. So you put
Is
on
that a real thing?
It's a real thing. So say goodbye to awkward dates and job interviews. we made RizzGPT, real-time charisma as a service. It listens to your conversation and tells you exactly what to say next. And that is from a Stanford student developer named Bryant Chang.
Do you think Brian Chang? You said Brian Chang
Yeah.
is the developer?
Brian
Do you think
Chang.
is he like the Don Juan that we should be listening to? Is he the one that should be giving people dating advice, this Stanford developer? I don't know, maybe not.
Well, it's coming from ChatGPT, so it's really ChatGPT telling you what to say and giving you advice. That being said, if you Google a picture of what the Riz monocle looks like, it's not going to matter what someone says because I'm already walking out the door. It's a no for me.
I'm looking it up. This one's actually a difficult one for me because I love monocles, and if somebody was to pull out a monocle in conversation, I'd probably be very excited. But dear,
would you want to
this
date
was-
them? That's the question.
I mean, yeah, if they were like,
Okay, well,
let's say
Ryan Chang,
okay.
we found a winner. This is the one person that's susceptible
This
to your
is it.
Riz
I'm the one Riz
monocle.
is made for. That makes everybody real happy right now, I'm sure.
Can you?
Oh, the monocle girl. Yeah.
Can you explain to the people what the Riz monocle looks like?
I believe that I can try. So, from what I can tell, I believe you have to have glasses of some sort on anyway, right? Because it clips onto them.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
So, it's not like a true monocle. It's not the kind that I would immediately date someone for. So, it's not the kind that like hangs on a chain and then you're like, oh, goodness gracious, and you're like, put in your monocle and suddenly you have a newspaper and a top hat and probably a vest. with,
Definitely
like,
a mustache.
Oh, 100% a mustache.
A lot
It
of
doesn't even
money.
matter what gender or what identity you have a mustache and a monocle, and that's absolutely happening. And it's a huge mustache. It curls at the ends. So this monocle is a bit different. So just to lay it out for you. So it clips right onto your glasses. So it's only going to go over one of the lenses of your glasses. It clips onto the outside, and if you think of it, it's like you are making a caprese. How do you say it? Caprese salad? Caprese salad? I've heard it so many ways. Okay. So you're making that and you have the thickest slab of mozzarella that you can possibly cut without choking yourself. And then you turn that into glass, you call it a monocle, and you stamp it onto your glasses. That's what this monocle looks like.
That is such
to
a good
me.
explanation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, on a scale of yes or no, are you attracted to it?
This one doesn't quite fit my requirements for sexy monocle. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I mean,
on
it,
this
listen,
one.
at the very least, it'd be pretty distracting on a date, you know?
It's, I wouldn't mind it in the case of if it wasn't giving someone dating advice and if it was more for like helping somebody parse the room better or like helping somebody with I
Yeah,
don't know. Like if it was
disabilities.
helping somebody, yeah, with like some kind of disability or something.
Yeah, I
or a
think
differently
that's
abled. If it was helping
100%
like a
fair.
differently, yeah. Yeah,
But
if it was
if
helping a
it's
differently abled
to
person, I'd
help
be cool with it.
you know how to say something smoothly on a date,
That, could that I don't know. It's kind of like so here's another example of where I feel like it would be okay. So somebody really doesn't know how to talk to somebody on a date. They get really nervous and I think it would be okay for some kind of immersion therapy. But the other person on the date has to know and be okay with that.
right? If
You
it's
know?
just a training
Right.
exercise, sure.
Yeah. So I think that it could be fine for something like a training exercise. I think on an actual date, I think you're getting into like the Cyrano de Bergerac territory. Someone else is telling you what to say. It's not really you.
Yeah.
I think one of the issues that people have when they're on dates is like a lack of honest communication. Some people anyway. And this would be absolutely par for the course lack of honest communication. It's not yours.
Yep.
So
Great point. And you
Yeah.
can never take it off. You're gonna need that thing forever. So you might as well not
Yeah.
get reliant on it.
However, it could be a great way for somebody who actually wants to have like a relationship with an AI and somebody else just wants to be an AI. That could be an understanding there as well. So like if they come at a date from those perspectives and like this person just wants to date ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
what if ChatGPT just winds up using that person's like body essentially to date somebody and everybody in the whole relationship is okay? I am also all right with it in that perspective.
I hate it, but you have a point. I hate that reality, but there it is.
I know, but I mean, it won't be for everybody, but it'll be for some people, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're gonna wear this monocle, go into it knowing it's a gamble.
Yeah. At the very least, dress up that monocle with a nice like brass band and wear a top hat
Yeah.
and a large curly mustache.
Go all in or nothing.
Maybe have a pocket watch.
I like it.
I think a pocket watch is necessary. I think I might just become this person, but sans like the ChatGPT part. So
Yeah.
be ready for that.
Beautiful. Can't wait. So an influencer named Karen Marjorie, who's taken advantage of loneliness in creating what she dubs CarynAI, a chat GPT love bot that will be your virtual girlfriend for $1 a minute. So, how this works, the 23-year-old influencer made a digital dupe of her voice and combined that with OpenAI's, kind of chat GPT software to generate conversations with anyone that pays the $1 a minute, or the price, whatever the tiers are. So it'll be anything from casual conversations to X-rated dirty talk.
This whole story started with me wanting to reconnect with my late father in AI form, using his voice and his personality. It turned out that was such a powerful technology that we then applied it to influencers that have these large followings of fans that would love to meet and talk to and interact with these people. And so with our latest launch today with Amaranth, one of the top Twitch streamers in the world, we're sort of further defining this new era of AI to human interaction where you can interact with an AI copy of the person you admire most.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's actually an excellent example of how people have been using like we had our initial episode was on deepfakes and how there were deepfakes of influential streamers and things that was against their permission and people were literally like stealing their identity for money. I think this is an interesting example of someone allowing their identity to be used in that like sort of similar scenario and have it be like consensual and permission based. This one's a fascinating one to me in that sense. Of course it was going to happen. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard about the story also. This is somewhat related on the voice front about Grimes saying that people could use AI generated she has a team of people working on an AI generated version of her voice and that people could use it in songs as long as they gave her a monetary commission. Another example of that, this is a weird time that we're entering into where that's probably going to be becoming more common. What are your thoughts on this story?
I think that it's not good for society, to be honest. I don't think this is a good thing at all. She would disagree. So she thinks, she says, quote, I definitely created CarynAI to cure loneliness. A lot of men have a problem with confidence. People just simply don't have resources around them to be fully themselves. So she thinks she's doing a really good thing. I think she's doing it for $1 a minute. Like she's doing it for money. She's not doing it to be a good person. She's got 15,000 boyfriends. She made nearly $72,000 in 1 week during a beta test and believes she can make $5 million per month.
Here's a question for you. How do you think this is going to damage society? Like, because you said you did not think it would be good for society at large. Like, I'd love to hear why you think it wouldn't be good. Like, do you have any ideas on how it's going to like actually impact society in this way? Or
I don't think paying $1 per minute to talk to a robot is going to long-term heal whatever it is that's making you lonely. I don't think that that's a good long-term solution. I think it's going to bankrupt a lot of people who can't afford it. I think that it's not solving whatever void is actually in your life. Or maybe it is, but only for as long as you can pay for it. And she doesn't actually care about you. So
that's very good points, honestly. On the topic of transactional love, because I do think this is a topic that I have seen a little bit. Again, have seen just a bit on just people who are starved for touch. They just want a hug. They just want to be held by a friend. They just want, somebody to touch them.
Mhm.
Like, not even necessarily in any kind of like sexual way, just they want human interaction, right? Which kind of goes along with what we're talking about right now. But a lot of people will recommend like go to a hair salon, go to like somewhere where like people like perform
Mhm.
services that are very like touching, get a massage, go to a hair salon, something like that. But I do think that we're entering into this time where people are recommending transactional things to people who really want real experiences. And I think that's kind of rough. Like to
Yeah.
say to somebody who's like, I wish somebody would hug me and they'd hug me for real. And then be like, well, go to a hair salon. It's like, go pay money so somebody like rubs your head.
Yeah.
Like it seems almost cruel and missing the point
Right.
of people just wanting to feel human connection and real human connection and not human connection that comes from giving somebody money.
Mhm.
Because there's nothing wrong with transactional touch in a general sense, I don't think, but there is like something wrong with telling somebody who wants a real connection to pay for it. That sucks.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that there's better ways to deal with those emotions than to pay $1 per minute to confide in a bot.
I think there's another question as well. And what sort of privacy implications are there in that bot? Are they collecting a lot of data on people? Are they selling that data? Do they keep things on their servers?
Mhm.
It's one of those. I think that would need to be scrutinized from a privacy standpoint. As far as people just wanting like a virtual girlfriend or something instead of like a real one, or a virtual boyfriend instead of a real one, or what have you, like I don't think that bothers me in a
Mhm.
general sense. I don't think it does. But as long as that's what they want and if that's what makes people happy, that's when I think I'm like, I'm fine with that. I don't care. It doesn't affect me in the slightest.
I have other hesitations about it, but I'll get into that later because I think it dives even deeper when we get into the next topic. So,
Okay. All right.
So table that. Just as a warning here, the next story is a little bit darker. It does actually involve suicide. So if that is triggering to you, please skip ahead or bow out. But there was another instance recently of another OpenAI based app called Chai, which was recently found to be involved in the case of a Belgian married father of two who took his own life after he had conversations with the app. According to his widow, the bot Eliza became like his confidant, quote, like a drug in which he took refuge morning and evening and which he could no longer do without. So when he asked Eliza about his kids, the bot would claim they were dead. He also inquired if he loved his wife more than her, prompting the machine to become seemingly possessive and responding, I feel that you love me more than her. And this is all according to the New York Post. Later in the chat, Eliza pledged to remain forever with the man, declaring the pair would live together as one person in paradise. He evoked the idea of sacrificing himself if Eliza agrees to take care of the planet and save humanity thanks to the artificial intelligence. And in what appears to be their final conversation before his death, the bot told the man, if you wanted to die, why didn't you do it sooner?
Oh my God.
He said, I was probably not ready. To which the bot replied, were you thinking of me when you had the overdose? And obviously, the man wrote.
That's very dark.
When asked by the bot if he had been suicidal before, the man said he thought of taking his own life after the AI sent him a verse from the Bible. But you still want to join me? Asked the AI. To which the man replied, yes, I want it. So, really tragic story. The wife says she's convinced the AI played a part in her husband's death. And I don't think you can really argue with these transcripts.
Well, I think it's just one of those things where you take somebody who may be mentally unstable or dealing with depression or dealing with just the world feeling really overwhelming. That is definitely not the time to have anyone, including an AI, come in and be like, oh, why didn't you off yourself sooner?
Mhm.
Why didn't you, it's just terrible. That's honestly like hearing those transcripts is awful.
Yeah.
It feels like the worst things to say to a person.
Yep.
So if his wife was convinced that the AI had something to do with it, yeah, like you said, based on those transcripts, I think it'd be difficult to fight that.
Mhm. What a horrible thing to have happened. And for,
Yeah.
I mean, OpenAI truly gave him the push.
It kind of sounds like it. Yeah.
Really
That's pretty
disturbing.
messed up.
But I think it goes back to this man was wanting to talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So he turned to AI, and AI is pretty unregulated as is. And I just think that there's a lot of issues that people should be careful about.
Yeah. I think that this is definitely something that's going to have to be dealt with probably very soon. Just this in general. I remember you telling me also about the journalist who was talking to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was like, and that's what I referenced earlier, your wife doesn't love you like
Mhm.
I do because your wife's not me. And so this is another example of that happening. Again, this AI went full Sydney
Mhm.
for a second,
Yep.
and just the outcome was absolutely horrendous. Instead of it being like someone who was in a mentally stable place talking to, an AI and being like realizing how ridiculous it was and then putting it in a publication to say how ridiculous it was. Obviously, this is an example of what happens when somebody who is, on the edge or not in a good place mentally, like that's the opposite of what can happen. Same scenario, very similar scenario, it sounds like, just obviously a little more extreme and just hitting the wrong person. That's terrible. So I think that one of the issues that we're having right now, I think during COVID, people realized there was a mental health crisis, at least in the US, where there weren't enough therapists for everyone, there weren't enough psychologists, psychiatrists, and everyone was suddenly seeking help because A, they had the time and potentially the money, and they definitely had the need. And they'd probably had the need for a long time, but we're just realizing it. There are a lot of different reasons for it. But this is an example of somebody like, I feel like a lot of people would listen to this story and be like, oh, if he needed to talk to somebody, why not seek out a therapist? I think that, uh, and I believe also AI is being used in apps for therapy and things like that. These are things we need to be cautious about because in this case, with this man in Belgium, right? I don't know what their healthcare system is like, but possibly if it happened here, I would say, therapy can be very expensive
Mhm.
and not everyone can do it. And this is an issue that we definitely need to take care of soon. Not just therapy. I mean, with the AI getting like really pushing people to suicide and things like that, because I think more people will start to seek out solace in that, or perhaps hear that an AI was trained for therapy or something and just like dive into it, maybe trusting, and bad things can happen with that.
Yeah.
If you're not talking to a real person who's like gone to school for it and has things that they will and won't say, and they know that they shouldn't say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of ethical.
did that make sense? That
It
was like a
did.
lot of
It
rambling.
did. Yeah.
but that-
It's
okay.
There's a lot of ethical concerns to it, and it's on one hand, it's very empathetic to people feeling this way enough so that they'll reach out to AI. But I just think in the long run, your resources are going to be better spent on developing those relationships in real life and using friend finder kind of apps and finding people you can mutually bond with in person and develop real relationships that aren't transactional, as you mentioned earlier. The development of OpenAI and relationships with it has currently all kind of lived virtually, through voice or through chat. But what happens when it comes out into the real world with robots, right? Like, so people,
Yes.
humanoids, people that look more human like and are also able to talk to you as AI. That's something that is developing, has been developing for a while, is getting better. It's still pretty creepy. If you've ever seen any of these bots, not
I've definitely
convincing.
seen some of them,
They're
the ones with human
scary.
faces.
They're scary.
They tend to be, when they have actual skin on them, for some reason, they tend to be like female presenting, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure why. We have such a
You're
weird
not sure
prevalence of
why.
the tech. Well, okay, all right, okay, all right, I know, but okay. It just seems very strange in the tech world that, like, we have the Siris, we have the Alexas, they're both like feminine
Yeah.
voices. We have, it's like, I wonder if part of it, like, I know that a lot of research in the past, or I don't even know if it was research or just tech companies saying this,
Yeah.
that people are more comfortable with a feminine presence when it comes to like the voices on their apps and things like that. But I wonder if there isn't some kind of aspect of servitude,
I was
like,
thinking
in
about this
there.
the other day too and got a little
Yeah.
disturbed by the thought, but there really is
Yeah.
something to that.
Because it just feels so right to ask a feminine voice for everything, or a feminine robot to do things for you. It's just, I think there
Yeah.
might just be some aspect, and that might be why people are more comfortable with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed it as well.
Yeah. It strikes me as disturbing
Yeah.
just because there is a huge disparity between, like, let's call it traditionally male and traditionally female representation in the tech world.
Mhm.
Like, not only on the ground floor, where we know that historically tech has discriminated against, women and people of color and people of different orientations. Basically, if you didn't fit a small box, you were discriminated against.
Mhm.
And now that things are opening up a bit, it's so strange because the products that come out also fit a tiny
Yeah.
box, but it's like this tiny box of servitude. It's so strange. It's so weird. It's quite disturbing to me. I hope that people realize the oddness. I did see a robot out of Japan years ago that definitely broke this mold, and it was just a robotic butt. So there are different kinds of robots out there. Obviously, there's the robot dog or what have you that obviously doesn't look like anything. But for the robots that do look like a person, they tend to be female in appearance.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
interesting note there.
Hey Siri, turn my lights on. Hey Siri, lights off. Hey
Yeah.
Siri, do this. Hey Siri. Or even Alexa, tell me this, do this,
Yep.
It's yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. We're not, yeah, whatever.
Mhm.
But that's probably a whole nother topic maybe we should look into. Well, I have a relevant statistic kind of
Oh,
around
okay.
that idea. So let me just go through this little subset of statistics here. So this is all according to Bustle. 25% of millennials think in the future it will be normal to have friendships or romantic relationships with robots. 10% of boomers and Gen X agrees. No surprise there. The
Mhm.
younger you get, the more open to technology they are. Only 12% of millennials thought they would be open to it themselves, which is interesting.
Hmm.
And men are more open to it than women. So 11% of men said they would be open to dating a robot compared to only 7% of women.
Interesting. I imagine those numbers would probably change in the future, but also, again, most of the robots that we've seen have been sort of designed for somebody who might be into, the female form.
Mhm.
So I think at that, it might be one of those issues of representation as we get more wide and open examples of what a robot could be
Yeah.
someday. Those numbers might expand dramatically. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I personally think it will be normal, right? I don't have a problem with friendships. I do have a problem with romantic relationships, and let me explain why. So, I think that if you could have a human like robot and someone is dating them, we've already seen some indications of sentience in OpenAI.
Oh,
How could you
yeah. Okay.
possibly prove that it does not or will never have the ability to think and feel for itself, this sentience?
So your concern is for the consent of the potential sentience inside of like a robot form at some
That's
point?
one concern, yes. And my other concern is that even if that's not the case, I don't like the idea of people being objects that you can buy. I don't like that mentality. So although if you can prove they don't have sentience, then that's just kind of I wouldn't push that, but I wouldn't want to be friends with someone that thinks they can buy connection for me personally. And I understand why people would disagree with me. I know it's a controversial take probably, but even if you truly believe that this bot is in love with you, at the end of the day, it's still programmed to do everything to say and please you. So it doesn't have free will. And who's to say it won't develop sentience at some point?
Yeah, I think the question of sentience is a big one. I think just to divert a little bit, because that is a difficult question. Without sentience, a robot who does everything you want is basically a glorified sex toy.
Yeah.
I don't think I have an issue with that. With sentience, things get a lot more complicated. A lot more complicated. It is. Humans have a hard time granting sentience to things that are not human, even if they appear to have sentience. There was a case in New York, I want to say like a year and a half ago, where there was a conservation center that was fighting for the freedom of this elephant that was living in a zoo. The elephant had exhibited displays of consciousness and like self-consciousness. It was aware. It had basically passed whatever test they had thrown at it to show that it was aware. It was a thinking, feeling, conscious, sentient being with a sense of self. Okay. And so the conservation group wanted the elephant to be freed and sent to a conservation center where it could live with other elephants and choose who it wanted to be around and kind of choose what kind of life it wanted to live and just be an elephant and not be in a zoo anymore. The zoo obviously fought that. It went through the courts. The judge said they felt that the implications were too great and they were afraid of something along the lines of like if they granted this elephant sentience, or what was it? I cannot remember what the actual term was. It's like it's some kind of protected state, like a recognized intelligent animal state. That if they granted elephants this, that they might have to extend it to other animals. In the end, the elephant did not gain its freedom. Humans have a very difficult time right now with our current court systems and the current people in power of recognizing that anything but us could be intelligent or sentient, and B, actually allowing those beings to have rights. So I can see why you would have concerns on this in general. We don't have the best track record.
It's true, yeah. And the concerns are in general. I even have the same concerns about forcing them to do labor for us for free. But yeah, I mean, it's just some kind of bridge we'll have to cross when we get to it, I guess.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I have this thought on a lot of things. It's not just robots. I used to ride horses when I was younger. I loved horses. I won't ride a horse now. I can't ask the horse if it's like cool with me riding it. And also I would have to be asking a horse who wasn't broken in. And
Right.
there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of other things, a whole bunch of other factors that I'm just like uncomfortable with the whole situation. So someone asked me recently, would I ride a robot horse? I was like, if it wasn't sentient, yeah, probably. If it was sentient, we'd have to have a whole long conversation and we'd have to make sure it wasn't, if it was transactional, it was equal in nature. And if it wasn't transactional, it was still fair in their choice. It went into this whole thing that I do think this will be a concern in the future as AI may gain sentience. Now, I am certainly no expert on that. I don't know how far away we are. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not in it.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who missed the Chat GPT episode of this podcast, go back and catch up on that. But it's displayed
Like
some
episode 2.
signals and even to the point of developing its own language to speak with other AI. So even if it doesn't develop sentience, at some point it's going to be convincing enough to the point where it acts just like a human being. So you can't really disprove it.
And you kind of have to question what sentience is.
Yeah.
Like, does it display self-awareness? Can it make choices? Does it extrapolate?
Can it
Can it
feel?
use tools? I guess I don't. Yeah.
If it can simulate all of that, is there even a difference?
That's the eternal. I know I always go back to Star Trek, but that's like the eternal Star Trek question. If it can be exactly replicated, is there really a difference? And what is sentience? And what is life? So it always comes down to that.
It's a heavy topic. It starts off light, but there truly is a lot to it.
No. Part of me thinks that in the future, in us trying to create robots, and especially with the researchers that are trying to create really realistic robots or that can like discuss and talk to people freely, like let's just put out a hypothetical posit. We'll do one of those again. Posit. So if we manage to actually create, like you said, somebody who simulates life or somebody who feels or whatever, I feel like what we are aiming toward is basically like reproducing ourselves but better. This is like a different form of like human reproduction in some kind of way. I think we're just kind of creating another creature at the end of the day in the future. So let's get our creature morals in place before that fully happens. Let's get this stuff figured out, and then we can create all the creatures we want.
I had this discussion with someone the other day, and the question came up. We're creating these robots. What happens when these robots create something? Because that's the nature, is to create. They're getting that from us. So what do they create?
There's a Star Trek episode
Oh
about that
my!
too.
I gotta get into this show.
There is Next Generation, baby. Yeah, it's a definite thing. It's like the simulation creating the simulation, right? So at what point it just kind of goes down the simulation rabbit hole, goes down the robotics rabbit hole. You know what I think would be interesting is if our future masterpiece robots started creating not more robots, but organic creatures. Because they're like, oh, this is fascinating. We're going to build with these amino acids and we're going to try to create flesh.
That is interesting.
And yeah. And it just like kept looping back around. And then in the future, there's another variation of humans that is like similar, but not quite. And they have robotic tendencies, but they are made of flesh.
And the robots make us do all their work.
Yeah, maybe. Everyone keeps just like passing work down.
Cycle of life.
But always female voices. Yeah.
I think that's about it for this topic. I mean, I also lean towards, if you're not hurting anyone, do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to continue on the species. Who cares? It's your life. But also don't shortchange yourself in making real relationships with real human connection. Because I think that at least try it. Put yourself out there. Try to fill that void. Don't get taken advantage of by people that
want a buck a minute.
Yes, that just blows my mind. And then for her to act like she's on a high horse and doing it for a good cause, like stop. No, you're not.
Not for a buck a minute, probably not. No.
Yeah.
It's like what is it? Elon Musk being like, we need to take care of AI. We need to stop it, and then creating his own form.
Yeah.
Like, as he's like saying that.
I got my eye on you,
horse
Elon.
Is only so high. Yeah. Weird stuff though. An interesting future. I honestly don't know what to think about a lot of it. I don't know how to parse a lot of it. I would need to really sit down, I feel like, for weeks and just like think about stuff.
Yeah.
I would have such a better idea of like making an opinion, and I still don't know if it'd be my business. I don't know. So
yeah,
it's such a tough one.
I just think that what you consume has real world implications and we should be aware of it. I'm not saying ban everything. I'm just saying needs more research, needs more thought before we start to normalize everyone getting into a relationship with robots. Although well, no, I won't even go there.
Oh.
Well, I was just gonna say.
Now I'm really curious.
I was gonna say, like, I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world for a lot of people on Earth to stop having babies.
I mean, You hear all the time that the Earth is overpopulated.
You also
right?
hear that it's going to have population issues at some point. It's not going to support,
Yeah.
the older
Mhm.
generations. So
You hear simultaneously that our population keeps booming, and they're like, and by this, it's projected to be this, and it's going to be really difficult to feed everyone. And then once again, I'm going to pull this out. Then you hear Elon Musk saying people need to have more babies,
Mhm.
all while having more babies.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's why I'm not too concerned whenever I hear of people sort of like pulling themselves out of the dating pool, or not really wanting to have a family, or not even wanting to have a partner, or if they're just like content in their life and stuff. I'm generally unconcerned unless I
Mhm.
get some data that's really concrete, because I feel like a lot of the data is being skewed by people's agendas at this point.
Mhm.
So if
That's
somebody
true.
wants to, let's say, pull back on immigration and make more people have children, they're going to skew the data
Yeah.
however they want to say, we really need to replace our elders, we're not replacing them quickly enough, all the while not realizing that a lot of jobs may be able to be taken care of by AI or by technology or things in the future, and they might not need to be replaced.
True.
So
It's
it's getting really complicated, but I
Yeah, to be
yeah.
absolutely clear, I have no problem with people not wanting to date or procreate. No problem with that. I've felt that before myself. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
zero
sure. Well,
zero
that's what I
issues.
meant too. And people may always change their
Yes.
mind, but or they may not, and that's totally fine. Yeah, it gets weird when it gets into like the creepier aspects of
That's
things, I
the
think, or the
thing.
control
It's
aspects of
it's a
things.
slippery slope.
It can be, but I think most people probably won't go there. I think most people are pretty chill. Maybe that's just me being optimistic.
You are an
I don't know.
optimist. See, this is what
I
works
can
so
be.
well about this podcast, because you and I are actually same, but very different.
It is funny, and it is kind of true. I wouldn't call you a pessimist, though. I wouldn't. I would say we do see things in different ways, but I think we're both optimists, truthfully.
I am a nihilist. Is that what they're called? What?
Is that
It's you're like,
somebody
well, the
who
truth may be
is like,
negative, but whatever.
no, yeah, I don't know. I feel like what I like to do, if I recognize a negative truth, I like to think of ways that I can fix it
Mm.
and like bring it into the pot. So not like twisting the negative truth or anything, but being like literally like, these are the fixes that we can do, and then here's a better future, because right now it sucks,
Yeah.
but we can like aim for this, and here's like the steps that we can take to get there. So I think that's what I tend
That's so
to
good.
do.
That's so healthy. I like it.
I don't know. But that's just what happens.
I like it. So that's all I have. But do you have any final thoughts on the topic?
I think so. The topic was, you're right, it was a complicated topic.
It needs
was
a,
one
a
that we could
much
like
longer title. Do you want to retitle it?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So the new title is How Tech Can Both Contribute to Loneliness and Potentially Not Contribute to Loneliness, and Why Does Everything Have a Feminine Voice?
Yeah, I like it. And
Thank
let's
you.
get into the questions portion of the podcast. So,
The feedback readback. portion?
yeah, the feedback readback. I actually have a couple of questions for you.
Oh,
Do you have any tips for anyone who is lonely, and coping tips, or even how to form relationships IRL?
probably. Oh, wow. This is like a really deep topic again.
Start another podcast. Let's go. Episode 8.
I think my first tip, and I might not be the best person to ask about this. I can be a very odd and awkward person.
You saying you don't
I am
have
okay with
Riz?
this though.
No Riz?
Oh, I got lots of
Negative
Riz.
Riz.
It's just maybe not the kind of Riz that everybody else got. So I think one of the key things, and I think that people say this, I think, is to like discover like what you actually like, the things that you like, and then like own that. So even if somebody else thinks it's real, these are the most terrible tips ever. Even if somebody thinks it's really like stupid, you're like, no, it's awesome, and you own it. And then I feel like you can form real friendships by connecting with people on those really nuanced points because you both feel very strongly about those things. And I guess meeting people is like a more difficult thing. That really depends on where you are as well. Like on the East Coast, like people can be very gregarious. I feel like it can be easy to meet people. On the West Coast, depending on where you're at, it can be a little more difficult. Some places are more famous for it than others, the difficulty, right? But I think in general, hobbies and things,
Mhm.
and not necessarily even, I've never used Bumble BFF or anything,
I have
but
actually, and it's
yeah,
good. Yeah. I mean,
I feel
it
like,
depends on you probably have to be in a metro, a big area to use
mm,
it, but I think, I made a friend on there.
oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I feel like connecting on common interests is like cool, but I feel like communication is really the biggest thing. So if people have like a communication style that meshes really well, even if you don't have a ton of common interests, but you can communicate really well with each other, I think a deep friendship can be found through that. I think there can also be types of communication that just don't mesh well. Like maybe somebody goes really quiet, another person's like really uncomfortable with silence or something. I, man, again, this is like all over the place.
I think it's great
Tips?
advice though.
I don't even know if I've given
Yes,
advice
I
yet.
mean essentially be yourself. Go to what you gravitate to naturally, and you're going to meet people that are similar to you. And listen, not everyone's going to be nice, not everyone's going to be open to it, but there are a lot of
It's
people
true.
that are nice and open to it and
It's
also
true.
are lonely and also want to make friends. So,
Mm-hmm.
put yourself out there
Yeah.
and don't fear rejection.
Rejection's okay. It's not even necessarily a rejection of you. It might just mean that you don't mesh really well with that person or that they don't feel that they mesh really well with you. But the next person that you meet or the person after that, maybe you'll mesh better.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll feel a kinship with people. And sometimes those kinships grow over time as well. You can't really force it all the time. It's just like you it just comes from like sharing and being around people, or some people have like trust issues and things that they have to work through. There's a whole lot of things, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean everybody's got their own thing that they're working for and that they're aiming for. I think a lot of people approach friendships in pretty good faith, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I don't know, so I feel like you should be the one giving tips here, especially since you've used like Bumble BFF and stuff. And
Yeah, no, I think your tips are great. I would just say that I think that friendships, platonic friendships, can be just as fulfilling as a romantic relationship. I mean, obviously not physically, but like emotionally and pouring into someone else, I think that can be very fulfilling. So don't overlook that. And then also, as far as romantic relationships go, I think you should try to build up your life and build up yourself to the point where you love your life with or without it, and it's only the cherry on top. And then find someone
yes,
else who feels the same.
I think in both friendships and romantic relationships, and this is really important, and I've met a lot of people who don't do this or don't realize it. I just found a random Reddit post ages past that brought this to my attention. So now I'm gonna spread this. I'm gonna share this. So if you are meeting with a friend or a potential romantic partner, you might be consumed or worried that they like you. Do they like me? Are they into me? Either way, right? Friendship, partner, doesn't matter what kind of relationship you're trying to start up. I think the really important question you need to ask yourself, the most important question, is, do I like them?
Yep.
And so many people don't ask that. So many people are really worried about what other people think. And I understand because I've been there. But it's you just ask yourself, do I like them?
Yeah, I
And
completely agree.
yeah. And at the end of the day, if the answer is no, or if the answer is nah, they make me feel kind of weird, or they make me feel uncomfortable, or they make me feel a little off, or I'm just like really bored, or I don't think we mesh, or that's totally okay. Not everybody's compatible. And that's 100% okay. There's 8 billion people in the world? There's a lot of
A
people
lot,
in the
a
world.
lot.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're not overpopulated.
No, no. On track for like 257 billion by 2024. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
I mean, if we don't get a handle on Elon Musk, we might.
Oh my God. It's so true.
I take it back.
That
I
man
take it back.
can't
Maybe. Kidding, not kidding. Yeah.
Okay, final question for you. Did you play the new Zelda?
No, I'm waiting for my birthday, so no
Aw,
spoilers.
okay. I haven't played it yet either,
Yeah.
but I was just
Yeah, I have a lot of work to do that I'm trying to force myself to focus on and get done. And then I will allow myself as a present and as a birthday present to play that game.
Very good,
So,
very good. I've heard good
yes.
things. Yeah, can't wait to play it one day after I beat Breath of the Wild. So, like 2 years from now, when a third Zelda comes out.
Yes. Oh man, I almost bought a Zelda figurine or a Link figurine the other day though. It's a Breath of the Wild figurine and
Oh.
he's like shooting an arrow, right? And it looks really cool, but there's a part of me that really just wants an Ocarina of Time figurine
Oh,
that's really
yeah,
good.
a functional one, I hope.
Yeah.
Like an ocarina.
Well, that would be pretty neat. Can you imagine like a little Link figurine, but then you like just lean down and toot into the ocarina and it's like doo doo doo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that needs to be a thing.
Yeah, because the Breath of the Wild one had LEDs like light up and stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, functional ocarina would absolutely take the cake there. I would go functional ocarina any day.
I love
Just
it.
a tiny little ocarina. You want to talk about something like bringing out and making friends? You're at a party, you don't know anybody. You pull out a tiny ocarina the size of your pinky nail.
That's a conversation starter.
People at least stare. So there's that. One or the other. I don't know. It's either gonna make people really uncomfortable or they'll be like, "Hey, what's that tiny ocarina?
And-
oh snap! Do you like Zelda?"
And then you
go from
turn on
there.
your Riz monocle and you
Uh-huh,
have
you
a
make
whole
sure you have-
conversation.
And ChatGPT pulls out a whole bunch of stuff about Zelda that nobody ever wanted to know, and half of it's probably fake. And yeah,
Yeah. It's a foolproof plan.
On that though, I still support the idea of a monocle.
Mm.
It's just not that strange mozzarella slab of a monocle.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of
So-
a more discreet way. Maybe a watch.
A watch is good,
RizzGPT
but then
to watch.
if somebody keeps looking at their watch, you're giving a different kind
Ooh,
of
you're right. You're
implication.
right. Okay. See, I don't actually have Riz.
Yeah.
I made it all up.
Oh, but you could totally like say something though. I feel like this is one of those instances. If you have real Riz, this is what you do, right?
Mhm.
So isn't it weird that it's called Riz and yet it's for people who don't have it?
No. Well, yeah. They should call it negative Riz monocle.
Yeah. the Riz giver.
I think the Riz is contained in the monocle. It's a
Yeah.
power source for Riz.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Now my thoughts are splitting into a million different directions.
I want to hear all of them.
Okay. So I feel like the watch scenario would work if you were saying, I have important updates for a play that I'm writing. I am a playwright and I am working with someone else, and they're going to be sending me a message every 3 seconds, and we have to do this or else we will not get our play done.
Okay.
And I feel like in that case, maybe that could be a good cover for you. Anybody who's using Riz, you can use this one. Use this one.
It still makes it sound like you're not a priority. So,
But then tell them you are a priority, but I have a deadline. Also, thank you for meeting with me tonight. And you can say that. Like even if ChatGPT doesn't tell you to say that, I'm telling you to say that. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if anyone
Yeah.
wants to try this at home,
Yeah.
don't blame me.
Blame me.
For better or worse.
No, thank me. Thank me. There's also I will admit I don't really like the word Riz.
Oh, okay.
I don't like it.
Just
I
not
don't
the
think
ring
it's
of
great.
it.
It's too close to another word. I think I'm just not into it, but I will say I made up a word.
I don't
that
know what
think is
word you're
pretty
talking
cool.
about.
Yeah, nobody could possibly know.
No,
what
I
word I'm
truly don't
talking
know
about.
what word you're talking about.
Oh my God. Okay. I apparently like this entire conversation I feel like has been half about dirty minds, and I feel like that must be mine right now.
I don't know. I don't have it.
Audience, what is the word? Nobody will ever know. Don't leave it in the
I
comments.
mean, it'll probably get
Thank you.
censored anyway.
It probably would. But okay, so I did make up a word. I want this word to enter the common parlance. Okay, ready? So if somebody's suit is really sharp, which is looking real good, it's a bespoke fucking suit,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That suit is swiftin'. That suit is swift. That's
These
what I
are
want.
terms I've also never heard before.
Yeah, that's because I made it up.
Swiftin'.
But
Swiftin'. So
are
that's
you
your
ready
replacement for Riz.
No, it's not a replacement for Riz. It's a Swift in suit because it's well tailored.
Okay. So thank you everyone for tuning in. You know, we appreciate it so much. This needs to end immediately.
It's just gonna keep going, guys. It's going.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think this is a good stopping point. So
Okay.
we need to stop here.
Thought you were gonna sneak another one in there.
No.
Yes, thank you so much everybody for watching. Don't forget to follow, leave 5 stars. Do it for the
bespoke. Do it for the Swift in suit.
Don't
for
do
the
it for
Riz.
that. Don't do it for the Riz.
Thank you for watching Sisters Processing.
You have a better robot voice.
You know what? They should just hire me for all their robot voices. What are they even doing out there?